Breaking tonight, a growing controversy involving the President of the United States and members of a grieving community in Oregon, as some residents in Roseburg suggest President Obama is not welcome to visit their town. Good evening and welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It was a little more than 5 days ago that the president stepped to a podium at the White House and made a passionate call for new gun control after a 26-year-old madman opened fire at a community college in Oregon, killing 9 and injuring 9 others. The remarks came just as the town was still sorting through the aftermath of a shooting just hours earlier. And the president mentioned that he may end up being accused of politicizing the tragedy. And in fact, he said it should be politicized. Sure enough, in the 24 hours since the White House announced the president will visit Roseburg at the end of this week, several members of the Roseburg community, including some of the victims' own families, have questioned this visit and the president's real agenda. In a moment, we'll be joined by the father of one of the survivors, as well as the Roseburg mayor, Larry Rich, and the city council president, Tom Ryan. But first, Trace Gallagher gets us caught up on the controversy tonight. Trace?
Megyn, there's no doubt when the president spoke just hours after the shootings at Umpqua College and talked about gun control, many people in Roseburg were not happy. It's a pro-hunting, pro-gun community, and residents went on the record saying the president should have focused on the families, not the politics. Watch.
His announcement he made about gun control and the way that coming off, the first thing he said, instead of saying I'm sorry for the families, I think it was just wrong.
Among the most outspoken is David Jakes, the publisher of the conservative Roseburg Beacon newspaper. Jakes not only condemned the president's stance on guns, he said the president wasn't welcome in Roseburg and claimed that he spoke for some families of the victims as well as some elected officials. Here's what he said on the O'Reilly factor. Watch.
Our Douglas County commissioners, along with our Douglas County elected sheriff, who is very popular, and our chief of police, all came to a consensus language about him not being welcome here to grandstand for political purposes.
In fact, it was that popular Sheriff John Hanlon who sent a letter to Vice President Biden opposing gun control. But some other elected officials are now pushing back, saying that David Jakes does not speak for them. Quoting here, news outlets have been announcing that the president was not welcome in Roseburg. We wish to make it clear that Mayor Larry Rich, City Council Tom Ryan, and the Roseburg City Council welcomed the president to Roseburg and will extend him every courtesy. It's unclear if the president will meet with Chris Mintz, the Army vet who took several bullets trying to charge the gunman. The president has been criticized for not mentioning Mintz during his speeches. Mintz apparently welcomes the visit, but wants to avoid the politics. Megyn.
Trace, thank you. Well, among those residents raising questions about the president's visit on Friday is Stacy Boylan. He is the father of Anna Boylan, who managed to survive a near-fatal encounter with this gunman. She is recovering from a gunshot wound to her back tonight. Her father, Stacy Boylan, joins me now. Stacy, welcome back to the Kelly File. Your thoughts on President Obama's visit this Friday and the suggestion that this is a politicization of the tragedy?
Well, I do believe it was Rahm Emanuel who said, never let a good tragedy go to waste. And I really feel that his visit here is completely to support his gun control agenda. I can't understand why he wouldn't make a mention of the families and the victims. I mean, he did say it was a tragic, incident, and I do thank him for lowering the flags. But he made it all about gun control, and he was very clear about that. And we saw this in Sandy Hook, and now we're seeing it again. And I just question his motives. As
a Second Amendment supporter, and I know you say Anna is as well, how does it make you feel?
My position on this is that, gun-free zones are a problem. They're an issue. They're a target for crazy people because they know they're not going to be met with resistance. My daughter said to me, what if somebody would have had a gun? The gun-free and gun control takes that option off the table. Somebody doesn't have to use their gun in defense, but to take away that option entirely, I don't think that's the right course.
When the president comes on Friday, will you visit? If he wants to visit with family members, will you see him?
I've spoken to my family, and for myself and for my daughter and son, on principle, I find that I am, in disagreement with his policies on gun control, and therefore we will not be attending the visit.
How is Anna?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How is Anna doing tonight?
Anna is recovering from her physical wounds. We are now, of course, dealing with, the aftermath of all of this. The dust is starting to settle, but, there's still a lot of interest in this event, and emotionally, she's processing, and we're just all being there for supportive. And again, I thank all of the citizens, the people in Roseburg and in Springfield, the hospital, of course. All the outpouring of support has been incredible in the healing process. And I'd also, I grieve for the loss of the lives that were taken on that day.
So much hate was expressed late last week, and yet so much love from those community members in the aftermath. Thank you for being here tonight, Stacey.
Thank you, Megan.
Well, after some members of the community raised questions about President Obama's visit, some of Roseburg's leaders weighed in with a different view, saying they support President Obama coming to their town. Joining me now, Roseburg Mayor Larry Rich and City Council President Tom Ryan. Mayor Rich, let me start with you. You heard Stacey Boylan right there with an impassioned argument about how this has been politicized, and he doesn't agree with the president's agenda, and he doesn't want his family situation politicized by the president. What say you?
Well, I understand people are going to line up on both sides. I look at it as our community is grieving at the moment. We're here for the victims. The president has offered to come here and give us that national support to our community, and I think we need to show our respect and honor him as he is here representing the United States, and we need to be respectful of that. So I'm very happy that the president has decided to stop by.
What about you, Mr. Ryan? As you hear, the thing about this particular situation is the president came right out and said we ought to politicize this. And now it's not just Stacey. You've got several of the family members saying, no, you don't get to politicize our tragedy, the death or the shooting injuries of our loved ones.
My personal opinion on the president's statement doesn't matter. He is the president of the United States. We will offer him everything that that office should be accorded. I may disagree with his statements, but if he can help some of the victims, that's what we're here for. The other reason is that we got kind of a little bit tired of people claiming to represent our community that didn't.
Who's that, David Jakes?
Well, that might be one of them, yeah.
That's the guy who was on with Bill.
I'm a little more blunt than the mayor. He might elbow me soon.
Mr. Mayor, I ask you, the White House was asked about this today, and Josh Earnest said in defending the president's visit, well, the president had a previously scheduled trip to the West Coast, so it does not require a significant change in his travel plans for him to travel to Oregon and spend some time with the families. Some view that as a bit insensitive to suggest, look, you're on the way to his fundraising, so what the heck? He's just going to swing by and spend a little time with the grieving families. Your thoughts on that?
Well, what people don't realize is his committee actually called the day before and said, what do you think if we stop by? They said that he was going to be on the West Coast. What do you think if he stopped by your community? And I was the one that said, please do. Please show up. We would love to have you here. We would love to have that national support come to our community. It was an opportunity for our victims' families to meet, and he's coming here to meet with them privately. They're welcome to show up and visit if they want to. I just thank him for giving us that opportunity.
And how about you, Mr. Ryan? Let me ask you, as the blunt man you say you are, if the president starts speaking about a push for gun control in a community that seems to support the Second Amendment strongly, and in a situation where many of the victims support the Second Amendment and don't want to see gun laws tightened, what will you say to him?
Well, he is the president of the United States. Regardless of who the president is, they are welcome in our community.
Right.
If the members of the family want to meet with him, they're more than welcome to. If he can help them in any way, more power to him. My personal feelings are at the aside. He is the president of the United States.
Right. He has a microphone, but so do you. So do you. Will you push back on his position on behalf of folks like Stacey, or no?
Well, you know, our state representative made a, I'll quote him as saying that, you know, when the vehicle is in the ditch and the people are injured, you take them out, then you argue about why the vehicle went in the ditch.
But that's the
Our vehicle is still
position.
in the ditch.
That's the position that the families are taking, who are objecting. They're saying before the bodies had even grown cold, the president was out there politicizing this issue. That's why they're angry. It's not that they dislike President Obama necessarily. It's that their loved ones their bodies hadn't been retrieved when he was at the lectern talking about how this needs to be politicized.
Well, I disagree with his statement, too, but he's still the President of the United States, and he will be welcome in our community.
That's great to see you both. Thank you, and all our condolences on what you've all gone through. Well, Dr. Ben Carson was asked about Roseburg today, and his response touched off a big campaign trail controversy, part of which is just breaking tonight. Look, he's here, and he will join us next on that. Plus, Mrs. Carson is here for her very first visit to the Kelly File. Don't miss this. And then, new fallout tonight from an ugly report suggesting Vice President Joe Biden may have been the one who leaked intimate details about a private conversation he held with his son shortly before his son's death to Maureen Dowd of the New York Times for political advantage. We're looking into who put that out and whether it's true when Britt Hume joins us in moments.